Hey everyone, it's your boy Matt here, taking a little sit down on my way to get some food. Got my backpack, got my crate. Joys living without a car or a bike, but hey, I get some miles in, get a couple of good yomps. Either way, I was just talking to my kangaroo friends. They had to go some places, so it's just me now. Um, and I've been sitting down and I'm reflecting on a couple of things. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the public figures and mentors I've had. Um, I've actually had personal relationships to some degree. One of those blokes is a guy called Jocko Willink. He's a U.S. Navy guy. He did special forces stuff. He was a SEAL. Power to him. Really strong, masculine dude. Um, Growing up, that's something a lot of men need in their life. They need some direction from a person who is a cultural figure who is symbolic of their place in society or models a place in society which they are attracted to. Um, you know, young men, we grow up, we look at Marvel movies, we look at Incredible Hulk going smash, smash, smash with things. We look at these stereotypical monster trucks and things like that. And Jocko Willink is kind of like the mature version of that, personified as a good community leader kind of bloke. He's a guy who's done some incredible work, and he's also a bloke who's very grounded, actually cares about his people. Whilst he is a little bit eccentric in his own ways, he is genuinely speaking a pretty grounded, wise guy, and I'm very comfortable with him being a model for young men. Um, and I've had some correspondence with him. I think he knows about my life journey, and he's happy with. Well, I'm not sure if he's happy, but he's aware of it, and he's aware of the influence he's had on my life. And one of the concepts he has is this emphasis on this idea of discipline, and which I'm just going to break down is like just doing the shit which you know is going to get a better result for you, whether you like it or not. I had another friend who was a military kind of guy who was like, in his mind, it was always like, your mind, it's like a terrorist. We don't fucking negotiate with it. It's like a toddler. You don't negotiate with toddlers, and you don't negotiate with terrorists. That's what your mind's like. When it says something which you know you need to do, you already figured out the thing to do it, you best not fucking listen to it. Now, I have a complex relationship with the military. I'm happy to discuss that at a different date, but it's something that I've been reflecting on today because like I'm I'm very happy. Like the extent that you can go on the discipline wagon, you can get to a point where I've been where you've completely broken yourself because you've been going 120, 30 kilometers an hour in a 40 zone, um, and you've worked with a broken hand for 2 years. You're attending wrestling training with broken body parts and snapped ligaments, and and at this you're heavily involved in community politics, whilst not having anyone really supporting you outside of the people who are parts of your agenda. Now, that life which I've lived is fucking miserable, right? Like you get these feelings of like a feeling of, I'm going to use it as superiority. Like it's not a great it's not a very great thing to say, but you get to feel as if you're beating everyone and you're beating things because you're such an incredible individual. If you're interested in this kind of community, you listen to David Goggins, and like his entire personality and ego is based on him just being an incredible person and him being a unique specimen who's different from everyone else. Um, he's like it's a you might use the term narcissism, but I think that's a very mean way of saying it. It's not it's not in like some bitchy way. He's just having his journey, and this is how he's able to feel good about himself. He's had a terrible life, and this is what he does to be able to enjoy it. Much of my life, if you knew me at different times when I was particularly intense, you would have seen sort of simply personality characteristics. That kind of life is alienating, and the only people that you have around you are either people who are supporting that kind of behavior. I wouldn't call it toxic masculinity. I'd call it bizarre intensity. Uh, I have been parts of communities who have been a bit like that, but never in the ways that I've liked it to be. I've always wanted to find a community of people who are just, really knuckling down on their goals, and are wise enough to understand the social dynamics at play when people are in community. Haven't found that yet. If I ever find that one day, that would be lovely. But getting back to what I was thinking, like, I think this concept of discipline is very useful. Something which I'm going to start putting back into my life more and more. After you completely break, and my breaking wasn't just a concept of me pushing myself, it was a consequence of uh, people asking things of me which were not appropriate, and not being able to say no because of my vulnerability as a junior practitioner. When you're a junior psych or a junior doctor or anything like that, the power dynamics at play is such that you just have to do whatever the fuck you're told. Um, and regardless of how clueless your management are or how dangerous the situation is, if you do not play ball, well, I'm sorry, buddy, that might be your career over right there. And I've because I am capable of political action, and have been involved um, in politics at the community level for some time. I know how to survive controversies. I know how to create movements. I know how to lobby, and I've learned how to be able to survive a lot of situations which would otherwise be fatal to a person's career because of it, and have had freedoms and the ability to take actions and be able to be in the thorn of the side of dangerous healthcare practitioners. Um, I've been able to do that because of that intensity, which I was able to cultivate through being a part of, I suppose, Jocko Willink's social movements. Might not be a good meeting, but I'd call it a church. All right, I'm going to call it a church, and I call it a church because, having grown up around the military, I did cadets as a kid. I went in as a naval officer when I was 19. Was not for me. But there's that cultural element of these are the values of a community, and in a lot of ways, speakers like him, they sort of function like pastors in this church. They defined the values of a community, and they are able to do this not through just a means of just ear bashing or Bible bashing, or the equivalence of that, but by being able to display something which is culturally attractive. And a Navy SEAL who has a successful business, who treats the people around him with dignity and respect, and people want to be around him, and people want to emulate his behaviors, despite them being in many ways quite intense and masochistic, is something which is I think he's a useful cultural leader within that community. Now, I have, for the most part, at every opportunity, separate myself from the military community. As a community, they are very collectivist. They don't have the same boundaries that other communities have. There isn't the same idea of dignity for people and peoples and individual freedoms within that community. I've been pressured into re-enlisting. I've been pressured into doing work parallel to military work, and I'm not going to do it because I do not like the culture. I see cultural leaders such as Jocko as very valuable, and in Australia, which is increasingly becoming more secular, where we don't have the church as a means of providing people values and a cohesive culture, I think things such as the Anzac legend and our military culture as being something which is useful in creating community and holding people together. And even though there's much of it which is toxic, the bastardization associated with the military, the lack of respect for individual freedom, and just the a lot of the general shittiness, which is just part and parcel of military culture. You've got a lot of people who have joined an institution which mission is violence and is structured around power and involuntary behavior for the people with less power than the people on top. Just as a result of the nature of the work, any military institution is going to have a lot of toxicity to it. It's a miracle our military, even though it is incredibly toxic, is not worse than it is. But it's like having some form of community or culture for something like that to exist is usually something to celebrate, even if it is shit, because there aren't a lot of things which group people together, and there aren't a lot of means to provide instruction to people in how to live their lives in a useful way and provide skills. And having the human equivalent of a monster truck, Tonka toy, which is Jocko Willink, and that's a compliment to the guy, right? He's just if there was like if we had to define like the personality of like the Greek god of masculinity or something, someone like Jocko Willink would be an excellent depiction of it. And I think if we were to have a pantheon of people, of deities that we were to create, and we wanted to personify sort of attributes which we wanted in a population, I think elevating a person such as Jocko Willink to that pantheon would be useful. And that is my reflection on like the cultural figure Jocko Willink, and a bit of a cultural critique of military cultures, and how they usually affect young men. But I've certainly met a couple of alpha women who are attracted to these ideas as well. Anyway, that's all I have to say for today. Goodbye.